Hey there, Grateful Gang. That didn't go very well. Oops, hang on. See what happens when I try to be all technical. It goes very wrong. That could have been worse, though. I was looking to do like a nice little countdown video, then easing into me live, but that didn't happen. But that's okay. Hey there, Grateful Gang. It's Lauren here. Thank you for joining me on our Thursday night broadcast of Gratefully Living the Chronic Life with Lauren. I don't know if I like the with Lauren part because it's really just like with all of us. I might take out the with Lauren. What do you guys think? Anyway, thank you for those of you that are live. Thank you for being here. These are also recorded. So if there's anything that you hear tonight that you like, you're certainly welcome to go back and watch and listen to them. And for anybody that can't join us at this time, they're available there to watch also. We're tackling some really good topics, I think, with tonight being another good one. Let me remove that banner. I wish I could make it a different color, make it like all fancy, but I cannot. All right, okay. We've got some comments here. So those of you, if you have not been here before, the drill is we are using this program called StreamYard, which allows us to put comments from you guys on the screen. And I'll show you an example. Here's Linda. Says, hi, Lauren. Hey, Linda. Thanks. Glad you could be here. Arlene, hello. Lauren McLeese, hello. Hi, Arlene. Thank you for being here. Diana, hi there. Thanks for being here, you guys. So for those of you that are here and would like to participate, we love, and in fact encourage participation. Your name will and your little picture there will come up on the screen. If you haven't done this before, you may be asked for permission for them to use your name because we're a closed group. They don't have the right to say our names unless we give them permission. So if you don't give them permission, it comes out as Facebook user, and that's fine too. And there's Gail. Hi, Gail. Thanks for being here. Got my buddy Deborah. Howdy. I missed somebody. Tracy Berger, my bestie from high school. Lerny, hey there, babe. How are you? Thanks for being here. Stephen Curtin, Teresa Andrews Curtin. Hello. Hi there. Thanks for being here, you guys. Karen. Hi, Karen. How are you today? Helped me through a rough day today. Jen. Hey. Hi, Lauren. Hey, guys. Thanks so much for checking in. I really do mean it when we talk about it being interactive. I think it would be a very, very different show if it were just me talking. I like this ability to put the comments and stuff up on the screen. I think it makes you guys a little bit more a part of the broadcast, which is what we want. So we do this every Thursday night at this time. Like I said, we've been picking a new topic each week. Sometimes I put it out for a vote. Tonight I didn't. Tonight kind of came at me by way of like a lot of different things telling me to do this topic, which is depression or living with depression. Now, when I need to kind of give a blanket statement here. When I use the word depression, I know there's a lot of different types of depression, very much a different level of various, depression, clinical depression, major depression. I'm talking about anything that falls in there along with, simply getting the blues, which is not fun. I shouldn't have said simply for that, but, getting the blues, going through a rough time. I realize very much that is very different from somebody being diagnosed with a major clinical, depression disorder. And I mean no disrespect whatsoever. I'm just using depression as like in quotes, as that's what we're using it for, I don't know, I guess we can say going through a hard time, being sad. So, and also please, whatever advice you get from here tonight, it is just advice. We are not doctors, nor do we play one on TV. So, please, whatever you hear is great. We exchange tips and ideas, and helpful hints. And if you need to do anything to change your own, what you do for your depression, please talk to your doctor first. I'm certainly not an expert. I'm kind of a self-proclaimed, self-taught chronic pain expert. Arlene says, I am happy to have a connection outside of my house today. Me too. Stephen, Curtin, Teresa, Andrews, Curtin. It's just Teresa. Hi, Teresa. I figured you were one of the names in there. It's nice to have you here. Arlene, I assume you mean having a connection outside of your house today versus just talking to yourself or with those living in your household. And I can totally relate. I missed Flush the Format this week, both of them. I missed the one yesterday and I missed the one Tuesday night. And honestly, I'm feeling it, guys. I'm really feeling it. That's what I am excited about tonight. It's another way for us to connect with each other. We now have the 2 live chats. We've got this, which is sort of like a live chat. And that's a really good segue, which was not planned. Something that was rolled out to our group today and probably on your personal Facebook also is something new called Messenger Rooms, Facebook Messenger Rooms. And what these are rooms that you can set up. It's kind of like Zoom, actually. You can schedule an on-the-fly meeting, a visual. I haven't done it yet. I tried to do a practice and it wouldn't let me. But it's like a Zoom room from what I understand. Now, if you do it outside of our group, it's you can have up to 50 people, 50. If you do it in our group, from my understanding, you can have 8 people tops. And so what it does is when you schedule your meeting, I believe that it sends an invite out to everybody in the group, and then it maxes out at 8. That's my understanding. And that's all kind of I really know about it. It's supposed to be like Zoom. I think you can put like funny filters and things on your face and stuff. But I bring it up, 1, because I think it's a really super cool idea. 2, because it's just another way that we can have this connection with each other. Everybody's focusing really hard right now, not just in AOG and in the chronic pain community, but everybody. A lot of us, I should say, are stuck at home. And, sometimes you just don't talk much to your family, as weird as that sounds. If you need to talk to somebody that, has the same situation as you, has the same, thought process as you, Messenger Room sounds like it is it. So you can say it could be 3:00 in the morning, your time, and you can be like, I really need to talk to somebody. And you can schedule a room meeting and see what 8 people or less that you can get, and you can talk immediately. It's private. I'm hesitating because I'm trying to remember all the information that I was given today. It does just go, I believe, to the AOG community. However, then it sends the originator of the meeting a link so you can invite people outside of the group. And I spoke with the others in the admin team today, Deborah, Linda, and Jen, and we kind of agreed that we have no problem with people starting these live startup groups on the fly. We do want to, at least for the time being, close it off to just members only, just because it's got the AOG name on it. And unless, there's not people monitoring it, nor do we want that. It's kind of micromanaging. But for now, at least, let's keep it to people that are in the group. And I think that's it. I don't know if anybody knows any more or if you've done one yet. If you've done one, I'd love to hear from you and hear your thoughts. I know they're trying to compete with Zoom. And, the one thing I couldn't get is, can you turn off your video? Because I know a lot of people in the Zoom meetings, the Friday Flush the Format meetings, maybe they don't want to be seen that day. Maybe they just want to be heard. Or maybe neither. Maybe they just want to listen in and not participate, and you can do that too on Zoom. I'm not sure that you have the option on this. I think it's all or nothing, but it's still great. It's free. It looks like a great way to connect. So if anybody has experience with it, let me know. Otherwise, if you're looking to schedule a room, you should see on the top of the AOG page now, a tab for rooms, it's called. Click on that and it takes you through it. It looks super easy. And when you do one, I'd love to hear how it went. It would be great. Just Teresa, I already got that one. Let's see, Linda, we missed you. Missed you too. Missed you guys too. My and what we're talking about today, depression. I'm lucky to have some good friends, including the AOG admin team, who keep tabs on me. We keep tabs on each other when we're going through kind of a dark period. And I've been having that. So, which is one of the reasons why we're doing this today. I was speaking with somebody earlier today who was going through the same thing. So it was kind of like a God moment to me, like, yep, that's got to be the topic. Hi, Grace. Grace Deisler. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but hi, thank you for being here. So again, with the word depression, please know I'm just using it in quotes as something to kind of signify, the blues or going through an actual, depression flare. There's a lot of levels, and I don't want to offend anybody, but hopefully you know what we are talking about. I wanted to start off with a reading today. Those of you that watch Dr. Bruce Singer's daily, what are they called? Affirmations, affirmation readings in the morning. You might be excited or disappointed, but I'm going to read his reading for today. It doesn't have to do with depression per se, but there was a quote and a couple quotes in it that really, when I heard it this morning, I was like, "Ooh, I should read this for tonight." So again, if you don't know, if you haven't tuned in before, Dr. Bruce Singer, he's a member of our group, and I interviewed him on this show. I think it's about 3 weeks ago. He's got a group called Black Duck Moments for Recovery, which is linked through our group. And he is a wonderful, I may mess this up, clinical psychologist. Actually, I've got his book right here. Psychologist, okay. Who offers compassion, humor, intelligence, and spirituality to help empower thousands of people around the world to recover from pain and addiction. That's the gist of it. He is my mentor and a friend of mine, and I just adore him. So I wanted to read today's reading. It's on balance. So May 14th in his book, Black Duck Moments Every Day. The quote is, "We need to introduce a little balance into your life. Part of this balance means not missing out on some of the marvels of life around you, the fun, some excitement, or other challenges in life." Catherine Pulsifer. I don't know if that's the right name, but talking about balance, which is obviously a problem with those of us with chronic conditions, is something that we struggle with all the time. I know that. I really loved the part that said part of this balance means not missing out on some of the marvels of life around you. That really struck a chord with me, because when you get into these really dark periods of depression, the blues, whatever, and you start to lose touch with talking to people and all that, we do miss a lot. And I know I make it a point to not let my stuff stay there for very long, because I just know how easy it is to get back into that dark hole. I was there years ago. It was really difficult to dig my way out of, and I don't want to dig my way back. So, that's why, part of the reason why I founded AOG as a tool for us to, practice gratitude and have another tool that we can actually have control over to help us deal with chronic pain and the emotional pain that we get from it. That's the depression I'm really looking to talk about tonight, is the emotional pain we get from our conditions. All right, let me go back to the reading. Are you familiar with the old-fashioned balance scale, the kind with two plates that lift or fall depending on which one has more weight on it? What if each of your problems was a brass cylinder that you could place on one of the plates? You might have a large weight for your pain or illness, and it lowers that side of the scale. There may be other weights for depression and fear. You can pile on weights for shame, isolation, grief, and loss. By now the plate is full, and all you can see is the heavy burden of your troubles. As much as you would like to remove those weights, you can't. They're glued tightly to the plate. How will you ever rebalance the scale of your life? The smart solution is to accept those weights and then turn your attention to the other plate. I highlighted it when he read it this morning. The smart solution is to accept those weights and then turn your attention to the other plate. What happens to that one if you add the weights of acceptance, self-compassion, gratitude, exercise, mindfulness, laughter, and love? It will begin to balance out the original plate and, over time, tip the scale enough to outweigh the other completely. Your burdens will seem lighter, and you haven't removed a single weight. Check that out. What we put our attention to determines balance. When we accept the reality of what is and focus our efforts on how to make this moment a little better than the one before it, we let go of the impossible task of changing the past. Damn, that's good, Bruce. When we accept the reality of what is and focus our efforts on how to make this moment a little better than the one before it, we let go of the impossible task of changing the past. Love it. And his affirmation is, rather than rid myself of my white ducks, I will put today's attention that white ducks mean, for those of you that don't know, they mean the positive things in your life. I will put today's attention to the white is the not so great things. It's the black that are the good things. Kind of opposite of what you would think. I will put today's attention to my black ducks. I will exercise or laugh or call a friend or meditate. When I strike a balance between my white ducks and my black ducks, I find harmony in my black duck moments. You can watch my interview with Bruce from 3 weeks ago if you want to find out, or join his Facebook group, which is fabulous, about white ducks and black ducks. You can see now, I think, why I chose this reading for today when we're going to talk about depression, because it really is finding that balance. You know, we're prone to having depression living with a chronic condition. It's just a fact of, lots of studies have been done. It really is just a fact that they kind of go hand in hand. Not always at the same level, but they do kind of go hand in hand. So how do you deal with it? It's easy to say, I'm going to, be grateful and then my depression will be better. Well, we know that can't happen. But we can make the stuff that we get depressed about possibly a little bit lighter on the scale by practicing gratitude. So I want to hear all of your thoughts about depression. I've missed a couple responses here, so I'm going to read them. And Teresa's, are you wearing an Esther t-shirt? I do not know, but I'm glad you brought it up because I totally missed announcing my shirt for the day. I do this every week. It's usually a gratitude shirt. This says, eat, sleep, be grateful, repeat. Let me look, see if it's an Esther. I think it's just an old t-shirt with a nice bleach stain on it. Let me look. Does it say Esther? Let's see. I can't tell. I don't think so. What does that say? Get hair out of the way. Anvil. It looks like anvil. Oops. Anvil. So eat, sleep, be grateful, repeat. If only it were that easy, right? It, on a logical scale, it is, but we know it's not. So that's why I wanted to wear this shirt today. I have more gratitude shirts. I need to start writing them down by my broadcast to see how long it's going to take to get through them all. So let's see, Esther t-shirt. Don't think it's an Esther, it's an anvil. Got it from Amazon, I think, years ago. Jen Leo says, love Bruce, me too. Arlene says, it was a great reading. Yes, it was. Hearing it twice was not a bad thing at all if you were there this morning. Jen says, wow, that really resonates. Me too. Oh, okay. Teresa says, sorry, I can see the whole shirt now. Was only mentioning because Esther has helped me bring me out of some dark places. Well, gee, I have no idea what that is, but I'm really, really curious now, and I have a feeling that the rest of the broadcast wants to know too. What is an Esther t-shirt? Where do we get them? How do they bring us out of a bad place? I want to know. So please, Teresa, tell us. Now I'm going to be obsessed with it. That's how I get. My gratitude t-shirts really help. It's another tool too to kind of look down and be like, oh yeah, okay, gratitude. So I have my tattoo, which I show every week, which is the same as our logo up there. I never wanted a tattoo before. I wasn't really against them. I just never really, there wasn't anything that spoke to me that where I really wanted it. And then I know I've shared this before, so you bear with me for those of you that have heard it, but Amy, who was my co-admin and who passed away almost 2 months ago, she had an idea, let's get a tattoo. And I said, you know what, if there's ever a time where I look down and say, I regret having a gratitude tattoo, then I am in trouble, because I can always look down and see that. And now I can look down and remember her also. So here's Arlene. Today, I woke up this morning having a feeling of being off balance, not really feeling bad, but just off kilter. I know it's that right now I am feeling a lot of things that I have a hard time accepting. So after his reading, I looked from another perspective and I was able to feel more balanced. That's terrific, Arlene. Tracy, oh gee, I love you. You crack me up. Whenever Tracy says that, I usually try to figure out which part she's cracking up about. Probably looking at the tag on my t-shirt. I'm guessing that's it, Tracy. Let me know. Oh, Esther the Wonder Pig is Esther. I have heard of Esther the Wonder Pig. Karen Goldberg, who is here on this broadcast right now. Karen, maybe you could chime in. I think you told me all about Esther the Wonder Pig, right? It's this humongous pig. It was supposed to be a tiny pig, grew into this big pig, and they kind of blog about it, right? Two men maybe have it. Looks like a nice positive website. Okay, no, it was not Esther the Wonder Pig. Look her up on Facebook. Brings me joy every day. That is a good tip, actually. So those of you that don't know, I'm going to write this down too. Check out Esther the Wonder Pig on Facebook. It's all sorts of positive, funny, good stuff. So thank you, Teresa. That's a great tip. And Tracy says, yep, the tag. I'm glad to please. Do you like when I talk about the bleach stains on my shirt? Where'd it go? Right there. Nothing holds me back from wearing my gratitude t-shirts. Well, actually they do, but we won't discuss those right now. Okay, so commenting is open, and I have a couple of questions we can put up. It's such, I was going to say a funny before we started when I said our topic is depression. It's kind of a depressing subject. And then, I say it like that. It doesn't sound all that funny. I don't like doing subjects which are depressing. I'm all about gratitude and helping us find the love, the light, the sacredness, the closeness, the happiness, the fulfillment. But to do that, we have to talk about the bad stuff in order to get to the good stuff. So we will end on a positive. I know it, because this group is full of a bunch of positive peeps like me. And I wanted to say this too. Depression is not something, how did I want to word it? You're not doing something wrong if you have depression. It's not a moral failure. It's not any kind of failure on your part. It really does go hand in hand with having a chronic condition, and especially right now, people being confined to their homes and being, stuck at home, which is unusual for a lot of people. They're getting it too, so please don't think there's anything wrong with you. I brought up the subject because I figured probably just about everybody could relate. It's really like I read something today that it was like a natural after effect of chronic pain or something like that. That was a good way to describe it. But anyway, I wanted to ask, why do you think peeps with chronic conditions tend to go through depression? There's so many answers for this. No right or wrong. I'd love to hear what you think. I'm not sure I like this color. I need to find colors that I do like on here. It's very basic, but I'm not sure I like that teal. I don't know. Not important. Why do you think peeps with chronic conditions go through depression? I mean, just thinking about it myself, I could think of, many reasons. I when I get reminded of some of the things, the abilities that I used to be able to do, I go through the blues, I'll call it. I am missing my best friend right now, and I'm having up days and I'm having down days. Lately, it's been down. Reality, I think, is starting to set in. This is the first time I'm really experiencing the stages of grief. I lost grandparents. Thankfully they lived old, very long lives, so it wasn't as tragic as losing my 47-year-old best friend, sister, wife, whatever you want to call her, and co-admin. So I'm missing that. I'm feeling that loss. So that is definitely a reason for part of my depression is grief. Grief of those things, those abilities that you lose, is another form of grief. I think some of us possibly don't feel worthy anymore because of our abilities. Let's see what you guys have to say. Let's check out the boards here. We got lots of good comments. Let's see. Arlene says, the one thing I remember about my depression is that I felt no one understood or cared. But when I spoke out about it, finally I saw and heard from people whom I would have never thought of as having depression. That's a really great point. I first went on antidepressants several years ago. And when my doctor prescribed it, I really did feel like I had done something wrong. I did. I ended up going off of them, but at the time they were prescribed, I cried. And then I started talking to people, not people in the pain community. This was, before my life-altering moment 7 years ago. But I would speak to friends and stuff. And I was surprised, too, at how many people were on antidepressants. So it just tells me how common this problem is, or this issue. I think of it as a problem, but it's really like, how do we live with depression? How do we live with it? Teresa says, pain and sometimes what you need to do in order to get beyond that pain. For sure. The pain itself, right, causes depression is what you're saying, of course. I mean, you're not going to be, not you specifically, Teresa, but we're not going to be, dancing around singing and all happy, joy, when we're in a tremendous amount of pain, and then it comes to be what comes first, the chicken or the egg. What came first, the physical pain or the emotional pain? Maybe originally the physical came first, and possibly the emotional then came after that. And then sometimes possibly, and you guys can tell me your thoughts, you could be going through a depressed period. Your emotional pain is really bad. Does that cause your physical pain to be worse? I'd love to hear that. Deborah Emmer Scott says, it is the loss of a life and wondering what's next. Great way to describe it. Not knowing what's next is something that we have to accept. This acceptance thing seems to come up every week, you guys. It really does. Having to accept our current conditions as they are at this particular moment. And that's not always easy. It's never easy, actually. Sometimes easier than others. Arlene, for me, the depression was because I was in the midst of grieving my old self and comparing my life now as opposed to before. Yep, totally agree. And do you guys feel that you're not worthy anymore? That you don't have, because you're sick, have physical disabilities, or whatever your condition is? Do you feel that you don't have as much to offer the world anymore, so you're not worthy? Love to hear that Facebook user, your name, just in case you missed the first part of the broadcast, your name's not showing up because you need to give StreamYard permission to use your name. So I'm going to call you Facebook user because that's all I see on the screen here. I'm looking at it through my screen. So I apologize if I don't see your name. If you'd like your name to be seen, you can go ahead and re-sign in and allow that to happen. Or you can leave it the way it is, which is fine. I'll call you FU. No, I won't. Oh my gosh. I was going to call you FU for Facebook user. Oh my God. No, I will not call you FU. I will call you lovely Facebook user. Whoops. Didn't see that coming. Anyway, my lovely Facebook user. The guilt of feeling like you lost control. For me, feeling like I was going to be a burden on my loved ones. That's a great point. That's a great point. Then it was a spiral down emotionally. Feeling like a burden is a really big one too. And I think we talked about this last week when we talked about forgiveness. We've talked about this probably every week, is feeling like a burden on our families, having to ask them to do things for us. We can often feel like a burden. We feel like just a shell of who we were. Tracy's back. I just remember one of the worst periods in my life, and you were my lifeline. Make me cry. Thanks, buddy. Right back at you. Same. Like the worst. And you were there. I said it a couple of weeks ago, but I'll say it again. Tracy, who's my friend from Facebook, and I think she's the president of my fan club. She's just incredibly awesome. Comes to see my kids' shows every time they were in a show, from when they were babies, growing up through high school. Even now with Riley's shows, Tracy's always there. But I'll say it again. Tracy came to Silver Hill when I was at rehab for them. She came 3 times and delivered cookies. That is a friend, and that is love. I love you, Tracy. Jen, I'm sorry I'm behind on the comments. I'm a bit of a conversationalist, apparently. Jen says, I can relate, Arlene. Yes, not worthy. Okay, relating to Arlene's great. What she had said, lovely Facebook user, not FU, says LOL. Tracy, FU, oh my God, Lauren. Yeah, I know. Only me. We could call this the FU episode. And another Facebook user says, I understand Kimberly Rose. I feel the same way. So the first FU must be Kimberly Rose. Hi, Kimberly. And this new FU person, I don't see your name either, which may be the way you like it. But hello, lovely Facebook user number 2. Nice to see you. And FU number 1 is Kimberly Rose. I'm like I was going to say I'm like Shakespeare. No, I'm like Sherlock Holmes with the hat. Oh, boy. Okay, let's read, Lauren. Janet Bursat. Hi there, Janet. Thank you. My physical pain and my emotional pain are intertwined. There are anniversary dates of exquisite traumas from my early childhood years that have created C-PTSD. I know what the PTSD is. I'm not sure what the C- is. Would love to hear about that. Janet, you talking about trauma from childhood. This tends to come up every week also. And it seems like the studies say this, and everybody I've talked to in live chats or whatever talks about, has a commonality in childhood trauma, which is very interesting. And I mentioned this book every week too, because it talks, let me just get Janet's on the screen here. When the Body Says No by Dr. Gabor Mate, exploring the stress disease connection. It's a very interesting read. I have it on audiobook and I put it on in my car, when I used to drive, when I used to go out. I used to listen to the audiobooks. And it talks about that early childhood trauma connection with stress and stress disease connection, also depression disease connection. It's very, very interesting if you are interested in looking into something like that. So thank you, Janet. Teresa says, after always being the one that took care of everyone, to not being able to take care of myself turned me upside down. Did not know how to go on. Totally agree. This was something that we talked about, I think last week. But it seems to be another commonality between all of us, in that we all tend to be natural caregivers in some way. And I could be wrong, I'm generalizing here, but that is my experience in talking to people, is we're used to taking care of everybody else. I think with Amy, with me, there is that loss of my person. There is that loss, but there's also like a whole of a letdown almost. So even though I was sick myself, I was her caregiver also. One of her caregivers, not the sole one, but most of the time I was with her. And she had serious heart complications. She had medical devices, lots of medical equipment, lots of doctor's appointments. She did not ask me to do all of this. I wanted to, because I loved her and I felt like it was something that I needed to do. And now I'm so grateful that I did. But my point was that, so there's that emptiness of losing her as a person. There's also a bit of an emptiness of going from running, a million miles an hour, excuse me, to not anymore because of, well, two reasons. She passed away and because of the coronavirus. So it's kind of an interesting take on my personal depression. Karen Goldberg says, laughter helps too. Amen. Absolutely. Like calling somebody F you. And Karen, you helped me laugh a lot. Thank you. Arlene, having been through depression, I am more aware of others who are in that state. Helped me when I saw both my adult children at different times were going through it too. Depression had me thinking that I was not worthy of anything. Love, courage, kindness. I'm grateful for that experience and able to help my loved ones navigate through. That's awesome. That is really, really awesome. I think, now I know that now if I were to see it within my nuclear family, I think I'd be able to recognize it also because I know it wears many, many different faces. I know somebody can appear completely fine on the outside and be screaming on the inside. That's a great point, Arlene. I guess it's one of the positive things about going through periods of depression or down in the dumps, the blues, whatever you want to call it, is that we can be more in tune with others who are going through it. When I first was introduced to the whole idea of depression and emotional pain, I didn't understand it at all. And I felt like, what's wrong with me that I can't handle this? I really, really did. I don't know if that is a similarity with you guys. If it is, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you, Arlene. Oh, Pamela Griscom says the C-PTSD is chronic. It's from repeated trauma. So C-PTSD means chronic repeated trauma, I guess, right? From PTSD. Wow, that's super interesting. Thank you for cluing me in on that. I'm going to write that down because I'd like to find out more about it. Gosh, I would imagine that, PTSD alone has a whole lot of ways to get through it. Having that C in front of it, I would imagine is a whole other ball game. So thank you for clearing that up for me. Whoa, check this out. Chelsea Jameh. I'm sorry if I'm brutalizing your last name, but watching from Italy. Woohoo! That is awesome. I'm so psyched. What time is it there? Thank you for tuning in. I hope that we're offering something for you to learn from, think about in living with your chronic condition. Thanks for checking in. I'd love to see it. We are international, which I knew from our regular group. We're at like 5,300 people now, but I think you might be. Well, I think we've had people watching from England and Scotland, maybe. You may be a first from Italy that I know of, though. We've only been doing the show for a month and a half. So thanks for checking in. Nice to meet you, Chelsea. Pamela says, anxiety is about what might happen. C-PTSD, you know it can happen because it has. Oof. Man, that just made my heart sink. Wow. That's got to be scary. For those of you that go through that, it's got to be terrifying. I wouldn't even begin to imagine how a psychologist, psychiatrist would help you get through that. I'm sure they've got very good and helpful techniques. Anxiety is about what might happen. C-PTSD, you know it can happen because it has. Wow. Thank you for telling me about that. Super interesting. I'm getting corrected. Laughter and positivity absolutely saved me, says Teresa. That's great. I use laughter a lot too, and I do want to talk about things we do to get through these times. Kimberly Rose, FU number 1. That is true. No one knew that I was struggling. They didn't with me either. They didn't know I was an active alcoholic either. I don't know how I hid it. Somehow I did. And I would say I was fine, but I wasn't. Thank you. That's a really good point, Kimberly. Complex. Oh, okay. The C-PTSD. What was I saying it was? It's complex. Okay. Complex PTSD. Okay. Thank you. Pamela Griscom. I suffer from it. Had someone hold my pills tonight. Just a precaution. Wow. So you're struggling with it right at this moment, Pamela. I'm glad you had somebody hold your pills. That sounds like a really smart move. Really smart. Gosh, very healthy, a healthy condition to be in, that you know when you need to have somebody hold your pills. That's fantastic. Yeah, hope be thinking about you tonight. It's going to go well. We're all thinking about you, giving you positive vibes. Kimberly says, I suffer from chronic PTSD. I was told it was from the different traumas in my life. C for complex. I keep calling it chronic, don't I? C for complex. I apologize for screwing that up. C for complex. Pamela, you hit it on the nail, says Deborah Immer Scott. I thought you'd be able to relate to that, Deborah, just based on stuff you've shared in the past with us. Sending you love and light, Pamela. Absolutely. Sorry. What are you sorry about? You do not need to be sorry. You are free to share whatever you want. I think that I think it's a beautiful thing that you shared with us. If that's what you're apologizing about, that you had somebody hold your pills. This is very real stuff that we go through. And these broadcasts are live chats. They're to help us get through this stuff together. You know, on our actual page, we don't talk about the specifics, but here you can talk about specifics, medications, whatever you need to talk about, my friend. So no need to apologize at all. Okay, we have another FU. I'm so funny now. I'm cracking myself up. Facebook user. I've also heard the term complex PTSD. It refers to repeated trauma in reference to what Pamela was saying. For example, think flare-ups, it's happened and may again. That's a good point. For those of us that have flares, which is probably everybody, it's repeated. Don't be sorry, Pamela. We are here with and for you. Well said. Complex PTS. Did you mean PTSD, not PTSP? I'm guessing you do. This is very interesting to me, the complex part about it. I would think that any PTSD is complex, but maybe the complex that they're using here means much more complex than I'm thinking of. Some other questions I put up for tonight. You guys were covering so much. And I'm very grateful for all of you chiming in. Why do we tend to go through depression? I think we've talked about that already. Do you see a connection between your pain and your mood? Seems like an awfully pedestrian question, but I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about that. Do you see a depression period coming when you go through a flare? Do you start depression first and then your flare comes? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about any connection that may be there. I again just want to apologize to introduce myself, not apologizing. My name's Lauren. I'm with the group Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain and Gratitude Addict. I've noticed that we've had a lot of new viewers come on within the past 10 minutes or so. So I just wanted to say hi for those of you chiming in. We're talking today about living with depression. If you didn't catch our entire thing up until this point, this is being recorded. So as soon as we're over, you'll be able to go back and watch from the beginning. We've had some really great conversation. We completely encourage you chiming in with your thoughts. Just write a comment. If you have not been here before, you need to give permission to have your name shared on the screen. If you've been here before, you already gave that permission. So just a little summary for those of you just chiming in, wondering what is going on. Another question I had wondered, how does your depression tend to manifest? Meaning, what happens when it comes on? How do you see it? How does it come out in you? What happens? Please feel free to talk specifics if you'd like to share them with us. Facebook user, yes, typo PTSD. Thank you. Okay, Pamela. Thank you. I misspeak with chronic too, because it is a chronic part of my life. Yeah, it is. Well, I was going to say it's around the same, chronic and complex. It's really not, though. Chronic, I was told, at least in relation to pain, that it's chronic pain is living with a pain condition, maybe not necessarily daily, but for 3 months or longer. And then I think I've heard 6 months or longer. I've changed kind of when we talk about the group. I used to say chronic pain and illness, and I still say that, but I also kind of tend to umbrella it with chronic conditions, because I found that those of us that maybe have chronic emotional pain, but maybe not physical, we go through the same things emotionally. So I kind of umbrella that within our group too. So for those of you that don't live with actual chronic pain, illness, disease, injury, that is totally fine. I hope this group helps you. Teresa, it's so nice to be in a group that automatically accepts you. I find that people that don't experience chronic pain don't understand what you're going through. I agree. We've talked about this before too. I see I've missed a bunch of comments, so I will go back. No worries. To those of you I missed, sorry about that. Yeah, this group is great. And I'm not just saying that because I founded it. I'm saying it for a lot of reasons. I think anybody that knowingly and willingly joins a group where you live with a chronic condition and you can't complain on a normal basis is really pretty badass. It is. It also means that you're looking to find maybe not a solution for your pain, because there probably is none, but a solution to your emotional issues with pain. And I'm also not saying that we cure depression at all. Please know I'm not saying that, but I think the tools that we have to offer, as well as the people we offer to each other, that we help each other tremendously with emotional pain. So it's nice to be in a group with other people who understand that. I totally agree with you, Teresa. Karen Goldberg, I have all my pills on the top of a very high bookshelf. A large stuffed rabbit guards them. Aw. So it's got to be pretty tough for you to get up there. That's a smart move too. If you're worried about it at all, having it really easily accessible possibly having it up high makes you have to really think first if you need it. I really like that tip. Thank you, Karen. Becky Martin, yes, I feel the flare coming on and can get down. Do you feel the pain, the physical pain flare coming on first, Becky? Or do you feel the emotional pain coming first? What comes first, the chicken or the egg? I would love to hear from all of you. Arlene, when I first feel that the blues are visiting me, I physically feel it in my body. Okay, so you, Arlene, you feel the blues first, and then the physical pain comes on next. Is that how I'm understanding it? That's interesting and very typical, I know. For me, I feel the physical coming on first, and then the emotional comes on. Although I have to say, even though I've been going through a period of depression as of late, my physical pain has not been bad. I have neurological issues, which are troublesome, still working on that. But my physical pain has been really pretty good, which is unusual. Usually when I go through traumatic things like the death of Amy or something stressful, I will go through a really bad pain flare, and I'm not right now. I just have to get these neurological issues figured out. Deborah Immer-Scott says, I definitely see a difference in pain depending on your mood. Happy equals less pain. Unhappy equals pain. Yes, me too. And I think that's what we try to work on in AOG, in Bruce Singer's groups like Chronic Pain Anonymous. Really trying to work on the emotional aspect of dealing with our pain. Because I don't know about you guys, I never once had a doctor, a specialist say, all right, you've got this. Here's what you need to do. Here's your medications. And maybe you want to think about joining the support group. Or maybe you want to read this book. Or maybe, whatever, any kind of helpful tip to help with the emotional aspect. Because I've said it every week, I think, since we started this, the emotional pain can often be way more painful than the physical pain. And yet I was given no resources for that. I found them on Facebook eventually, to help with the specific ailments. But I've said this every week too, how this group came to be. I had an appetite for something more, and something that didn't consist of just constant complaining. And we've definitely found it through the magic of what we all do here. So I thank all of you. And we're back to Teresa's comment about automatically being in a group that accepts you. We sure do accept everybody. One of my favorite things about AOG, got a bunch of more comments coming up. Okay, I'll get to you guys. One of the things I love the most about AOG is when we accept new members, and when I put up a welcome post accepting the new members, we get so many people that welcome them in, that take the time to put a comment. It's not a requirement. I've never said, hey, maybe you want to welcome them in. I do say in the post, help me welcome. But everybody says that in their welcome posts in other groups, and it doesn't usually happen. But in AOG, it actually happens. We get a ton of people that are very, very genuine in welcoming new members. We could be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like very guarded about this sacred space that we have. And I am, and the admin team is too, which is why we work really, really hard to try to make sure it's a safe place for everybody all the time, accepting of everybody all the time, pleasant and happy for everybody all the time. We take that very, very seriously. So possibly welcoming new members wouldn't be a real welcome thing to people, yet we do. And I love that about you guys. Thank you. Okay. I have to call you FU. Sorry, FU. FU, beautiful user FU. I don't always connect Flare Up. And I'm saying that in case you don't know, because you're coming up as Facebook user instead of your name showing up. If you want your name to show up on in StreamYard, you have to give permission first. You can log out and log back in if you don't know. But for now, I'll call you Beautiful FU. I don't always connect flare-ups and pain to depression, but long spells of either can lead me to be watchful of the other, and I do all I can to prevent the arrival. Interesting. Okay, let me read that again. I don't always connect flare-ups and pain to depression, but long spells of either can lead me to be watchful of the other. Do all you can to prevent the arrival. Okay, so the way I'm reading it is you could get either first. Is that right? You could get the physical pain first or the depression first. Getting either one of those helps you to be watchful of the other coming along. If it's a long spell, am I right about that? That's interesting, and I'm glad that you're able to connect those together. Yeah, that's you guys make the most interesting comments, and they're so helpful. Arlene says that physical sign is my head feels heavy and my chest is tight. I then feel no motivation, start thinking about only bad things. Yeah, common depression symptoms, right? The lack of motivation, sleeping a lot. I know I'm going to miss a ton. Thinking about bad things. That chronic PTSD of having had these pain flares happen before over and over again and being afraid of that. I mean, gosh, who wouldn't be depressed over that? There's so many signs of depression, different signs of depression. Lack of motivation sure is one, and thinking about bad things is another. Thank you, Arlene. Kimberly Rose, I notice pain with the mood change. I believe it's because when I get angry or upset, I tense up and I feel my body tense up. Me too. My energy also changes, which affects me as well. Gosh, that is me to a T. Even though my physical usually comes first, I find myself tensing up, and I don't even know I'm doing it. Our breath breaks, which we have every day. Every day except today. No breath break today. Sorry, guys. Our breath breaks, when I remember to do them, help me out a lot with that. Just a couple minutes of deep breathing, even 1 minute of deep breathing, and being conscious of me tensing up helps me a lot. But yeah, being tensed up for sure helps bring on the other for me. Thank you. That was a really good point. Teresa, when I feel the pain coming on, I talk to it. Hello there, pain. Thank you for reminding me I'm alive. That's helped me to cope emotionally and physically. I've heard that before from, really well, like published doctors and experts, that when you're depressed and in emotional pain, that you kind of talk to it and treat it, acknowledge that it's there. Maybe talk to it a little bit and then try to send it on its way. I've heard that as a really great tip. Thank you, Teresa. I love that tip. Julie Schmerlov, staying home a lot can cause low vitamin D. True. And I was very low 3 years ago. My doctor knew I was staying home 90% of the time and never told me to take vitamin D. They don't tell you a lot of things. Great point, Julia. Great point. Thank you. I can't believe, not just chronic pain people, but I can't believe how many people these days in the past 10 years or so are diagnosed with low vitamin D. I have been before as well. And it's not hard to do at all to be to have low vitamin D when we're not outside wearing sunscreen all the time. I meant that as when we're not outside and or wearing sunscreen all the time, SPF, whatever, makeup has it, lotion has it, we get low vitamin D, and that can cause depression too. That's an excellent point. And although I'm not a doctor and wouldn't prescribe that to anybody, I would strongly recommend that you look into what Julia said. You can look that up on the internet very easily. I'm trying to take the pressure off of myself, but Julia has a great point. And please look that up. Low vitamin D and depression levels is a very interesting topic. Let's see what else we got comment-wise. FU is still back at FU. I'm FU laughing, hearing you read it. I now see not very well written, but you have got it. Totally disagree. It was written beautifully. We understood what you were talking about. Don't be so hard on yourself, says the girl that's awfully hard to herself. I know. But yeah, it was a great comment. Thank you for sharing it. It was written just fine. Arlene says, just having the opportunity to speak of pain and depression helps. You guys are reaching all the points I wanted to talk about tonight in going over the live chats, talking about the issues that we have when you struggle with anything, pain, depression, all that heavy stuff that we have on our shoulders all the time, grief, feeling unworthy or whatever. When you talk about it, it's well published, well documented. When you talk about your problems, it helps give them a lot less power. And you can often be surprised, talking about them at FTF, which is short for Flush the Format, our live chats on Tuesday and Wednesdays. When I talk about them there or through here, sometimes I'll look back on it and be like, really, I was so worried about X, Y, and Z. And now that I said it out loud, it doesn't seem like as big of a deal as I thought it was. Sometimes it is, don't get me wrong. But sometimes when I get overwhelmed, let me go back. Let me give you an example. I love to entertain, but I'm a person that lives with chronic pain and illness. So in the past 20 years or so, Lauren doesn't entertain the way Lauren used to entertain. For several reasons. One is I tried that. I tried entertaining the way Lauren used to entertain, and it was not pretty because I would go through flares. My family always knew I would go through flares right after it. And I like to see people happy, eat, drink, be merry. I'll drink the virgin drinks, but you know what I mean. I love seeing people happy. I love entertaining, and entertaining would cause me a ton of stress. Why did I bring that up? Talking about it. Oh, I know. I would find that my to-do list for entertaining, which I would keep in my head, this is before the days I had my big planner, the things that I had to do, pick up the drinks, pick up the food, make this recipe, whatever I needed, set up chairs, whatever it was. I'd keep it in my head, and I would find it would go on this constant loop. So it would make me think that I had all these separate things. If I had 4 things on the list and keep repeating it, that it turns into 8 and 12 and 16. You get the idea. When I would write it down and look at it, it would seem a lot less big of a deal, a lot less more to do. And that goes along with, I think, Arlene's talk, and somebody else mentioned it too, about being able to talk about it, being able to talk verbally, being able to write things down. When you write things down, it also gives things less power. So I highly recommend that also for those of you that may struggle with depression, the blues, whatever. Being connected like you are tonight, being connected on any level, staying in touch with people, it can be really important. And really, we're over an hour already. This happens every week. I really, really try to keep it to an hour, but it's such good stuff that we have to talk about. I am going to close it down soon, though, just to keep it more accessible to people that will be watching it on recording, and they see it's an hour, 20 minutes. They're going to be like, so I try to keep it as close to an hour as I can. But what I'd like to hear from you guys is, what do you do when the depression gets bad? I want to hear your tips. We've already talked about being able to speak about it. What else do you do to make things easier on yourself? Because that's the positive I want to end on tonight. So I'd love to hear about that from everybody. Deborah Emmerscott, vitamin D is essential. 15 minutes a day, no sunglasses or sunscreen. I have heard the same. I've heard the same, and I encourage everybody to look that up because I believe it can help. Forgot to say sun, 15 minutes of sun. I knew what you meant, but thanks for clarifying it. I'm not sure if everybody knew what you meant. I've also heard that those salt lamps can help. If anybody has experience with those salt lamps, I know Amy got one for Christmas from her daughter last year. Don't know much about it. I'd love to hear more about it. It's awfully pretty. So if anybody's experienced with that, I'd love to hear about it. I'm sure we all would. Becky Martin says, yes, talking with people who understand helps. Glad to hear it. I completely agree. Arlene says, finding new ways to complete old tasks are often the most frustrating for me too. That's a really good point. We do have to find new ways of doing things, don't we? Especially when we lose abilities, and often we have to find a different way of doing it. Don't do it. Ask somebody else to do it for us, or maybe try to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Try to be efficient and do it a different way. We're very clever, we chronic pain people, and we find that we have to be flexible in order for this to work very well. When we're not being flexible, that could be a good topic for 1 week, actually. When we're not being flexible, when we're very set in our ways, we find ourselves saying, life should be like this. Life should be like this. And when life isn't like this, we freak out and we lose control. We're control freaks. We lose control and we don't know what to do. So we find that we need to be flexible. That's completely essential. I like that as a topic. Maybe next week we'll do that. Let me write that down. Flexibility. And that goes, with joining this group too. A lot of you have told me that you came from groups where it just seemed very, very negative, and maybe you were excited to try our group out. Maybe you were really kind of like, it sounds a little ridiculous to me, but I'll try it. And I assume it's working for you, or you wouldn't be here, or at least you're hoping and trying. And if you are hoping and trying, I am hoping and trying with you. I find that AOG and this group here is my soul lifeline, and I'm so grateful for it. Don't know what I ever did without it. Thank you, Arlene, for a good point there. Teresa, thanks, guys. This is the first time I've done this, and I was afraid, but I jumped in, and I'm so glad I did. Having conditions and pain has caused my world to get smaller and smaller. This group has opened up my world a little bit. Thank you. Teresa, I want to cry. I really do. I know, at least from my memory, which is terrible, but I know you're kind of a newer member from my memory. Is that right? Because I remember accepting you with all of the names and figured you were Teresa in there. But I'm so glad you're here too. And I know I can very easily speak for everybody else in this group when we say, we are glad that you're here too. When I put up posts every week, kind of advertising, I know Linda does the ones for Flush the Format. I do for this. And I'm always, always talking in my goodnight posts and all that about joining these with full recognition that I know it's scary joining in the first time. And I know Linda, who is in charge of the chats on Tuesday and Wednesday, FTF, we try to come up with as many ideas as we can to try to make that process, as little scary. No, that's not the right word. As free from fear as possible. Because we know logging in can be scary, and maybe you think it's very clicky and everybody else has done this before and we know each other, and it's just not the case. Flush the Format. We do have people that come every week. We do have people that come 1 week and they haven't been in a while. It is definitely not clicky. We would love to have you there. Thank you for joining us and for contributing so much tonight, Teresa. We love having you in the group, and I'm so glad that it's helping you, for real. Arlene, I am a very visual person, so I surround myself with things that evoke my soul's shining spots. That gives me a glimpse of better times. Good point. Pamela, stop and take care of myself. Whatever is good for you. Mindfulness is my favorite practice. Mindfulness is phenomenal, in my opinion, for dealing with the depression aspect of chronic pain and illness. I don't practice it enough. I realize that. The deep breathing is a very small part of mindfulness. I would like to practice it more. That's a really great point. I know Bruce Singer had talked a little about it during our interview a few weeks ago. But I encourage any of you looking for more tips and techniques, look into the mindfulness practice as well. They talk about it a lot in this hefty book, Full Catastrophe Living. Very good book. This was put out. This is why I go so long. I say all these things that don't necessarily need to be said, but I like giving out information. Full Catastrophe Living, I first saw actually in the gift shop at rehab. At Silver Hill Hospital. Why there was a gift shop at rehab, I'm not really sure, but I first saw it in there and thought, wow, that looks, I went to rehab in total full catastrophe mode. But this book is written by Jon Kabat-Zinn, who many of you might know. He brought mindfulness, the practice of mindfulness, to America, I think in the 1970s. He's definitely an idol of mine. He's got fantastic quotes. And if you're looking for a great meditation, his body scan meditations, which you can get on YouTube, I believe. Body scan meditations, if you're in pain, his body scan meditations, Jon Kabat-Zinn, are fantastic. Highly recommend, especially if you're going through a really bad pain episode. All right, my Google is telling me that I'm on the air. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for telling me I'm on the air. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more questions and then got to wind it down. Becky, if I can make a list, I can check items off and feel relief and empowered. It helps. I do the same. And I spoke this week about making it easier for me. Here's my today. In my planner, here's my to-do list. Let's face it, people, if you're going through a depressed period or really any period, a list that looks like that doesn't have a whole lot of check marks on it. But look, 1, 2, 3. And I think there's actually 4 or 5 that I've actually done today. It's been a good day. But one of the tips I was going to say is make things very achievable for yourself. Make small, realistic goals that are achievable. And obviously I need to work on that with my planner. A lot of the stuff I write down as it comes to me, it doesn't necessarily need to be done today. I know I'm trying to get myself out of trouble here. It's actually true. I don't actually intend to accomplish all of those things today, but I do want to carry them over to tomorrow. But yes, our intentions that we do in the morning are exactly what I just said. They're intended to state our daily intentions and make them things that are small and achievable. And hopefully when you achieve them, you can put it in your top 3. Am I online again? Okay, thank you for alerting me. I don't know if you guys can hear those, but I keep getting alerted. Oh, I should never go off on tangents because I very rarely can get back. What was I talking about? Isn't that sad? Making things, intentions. I was talking, woohoo, go me. I remembered talking about the daily intentions in the morning. If you're not able to make your intentions, setting it as an intention, something you intend to do, rather than a full-fledged goal, releases the possibility of you developing a resentment or, resentment against yourself for not completing that goal. Intentions are just that. They're an intention. They're achievable. They're small, hopefully. And then we can share with each other. And we feel awfully good when they're completed. Thank you, Becky, for your tip. We have a Facebook user here. I won't say the name, but if you've watched from the beginning, you'll know what I was going to say. I was going to give the Facebook, those that showed up as Facebook users, a nickname using the letters, but opted not to do that for obvious reasons. Okay, Facebook user says, acknowledge that I'm feeling depressed can lessen it. Trying to stay positive is a great habit, but acknowledging all feelings is essential. We don't have to wallow, just acknowledge. Fantastic point, Facebook user. Thank you for sharing that with us. Acknowledging is really, really important. And that is why in our group, we set up these other periods for us to talk about, the specifics of our conditions, like our depression and our pain and all that we can't necessarily talk about on the main page, because it's very important to acknowledge them. So thank you. That it is absolutely essential. We cannot just practice gratitude and have it be over thinking positive, looking on the bright side. That's not how it works. Gratitude's a tool to help us get through depression, but it itself does not. It sure helps a lot, though, and this group helps a lot too. I wrote a quote a couple weeks ago, and I think it said, like, looking on the bright side, it's something like gratitude isn't everything, but it sure does help some things. It was much more eloquent than that, but it was something like that, and I thought it was helpful quote. It's not the be all end all, but it sure is helpful. Okay, thank you again, Facebook user. Diana, I remind myself that it always passes no matter how bad it is. I focus on gratitude even if I have to make a list over and over again in my head. Great point. Telling ourselves that it's temporary. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that your condition is temporary, but the pain that you're feeling right in this exact moment is temporary. So you can rest in knowing that. Making lists, gratitude lists. There are new studies out within the past couple of years that say that writing down 3 things you're grateful for every day for a week, right before you go to bed, is extremely helpful for your emotional health. And then actually, I believe, if I'm right about this study that I'm thinking of, it tells you to stop at 7 days, write them down every day for 7 days, and then don't do it again for a month, I think. I'll have to look that up. I believe it was Robert Emmons that did this study. He's kind of the king of gratitude. And I thought it was very interesting that he didn't recommend you continue with that 3 things every night, but he didn't. I think it was 1 week and then stop for 3. Thank you, Diana. Kimberly Rose, I go back to the beginning of where I started with AOG and name a few things I'm grateful for. I set smaller, obtainable goals such as longer shower, I love it, or reach out to a friend, or crosswords. I love crosswords. I love it. I love those tips. Thank you, Kimberly Rose. Kimberly, this is my first live and it is amazing. The judgment-free and understanding is so refreshing and helpful. I'm honored that you came here tonight. I really am. And I thank you for all of your, I'm not pretty eloquent tonight, am I? I need to be easier on myself. All of the beautiful things that you've said with us tonight and shared. Even when I was calling you FU for Facebook user earlier in the broadcast. Thank you for tuning in. I know it's scary, like I said earlier to Teresa, but I hope that you come back. I hope that you find this helpful. I'm glad that you find it amazing. We started them about a month and a half ago, and so far the excitement has been great. So thank you, Arlene. I have to go now, but thank you, Lauren. I feel so much better now, more balanced and less blue. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Arlene, thank you for your all that you shared tonight. Pamela Griscom, thank you. All right. Last comment I'm going to take about depression, and then we're going to say goodbye. Facebook user, reverse lists are helpful in times of depression. Write down what you got done at the end of the day rather than what needs to be done at the start. It is similar to our gratitudes of the day, but more task specific. I love that. I'm going to read that again. Reverse lists are helpful in times of depression. Write down what you got done at the end of the day rather than what needs to be done at the start. It is similar to our gratitudes of the day, but more task specific. We do that a little bit. I don't know if it's what you're talking about specifically, Facebook user. I'm assuming you're in our group, but this is open to non-group users too, so maybe not. But we do something every day called 3 things. We list 3 things you did well today, and that came from Sheryl Sandberg of Facebook fame. She's the CEO of Facebook, I think. She lost her husband suddenly and wrote a great book a couple of years ago called Option B. And in the book, she talks about that very thing, about writing. She was told to write lists of the 3 things you did well today, and they don't have to be big things. They can be taking a shower, longer shower, like somebody said. Oh no, that's a goal. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. 3 things you did well today. So today I took a shower, me personally, and I'm super psyched about it. I did this broadcast and talked to a friend this morning. That's 3 things I did well today. And I find that they're helpful too. So we do offer that in the group too for people that like that technique. Thanks for saying that. It's helpful for depression. That's very helpful. Pamela, thank you. Thank you all. I have one more thing I want to show you guys. Thank you, Laura, for all you do. Thank you. Hi, Glendale. Thanks for being here tonight. And Glendale says, love that. I'm assuming she's talking about those reversed lists. Thank you, everybody. I love you all. This, every week I'm like, well, what if nobody has anything to share? And I'm like, silly me, I've got a ton to share. I had like some readings and books, but none of those are nearly as helpful as what this is. But I did want to give a movie suggestion. I've been doing that at the end of broadcast, kind of like my favorite things type thing. But I was talking to a friend from the group, Karen Goldberg, earlier today, and we were talking about different things we do for depression, and I had asked her if she'd seen the movie Happy. And she said no. So I found it on Internet Movie Database for her and sent her the link. And I had seen it years ago on Netflix. It's no longer available on Netflix, but I want to show you the trailer and tell you a little bit about it. When I was at Silver Hill in the chronic pain and recovery program as a patient 7 years ago. Wow, 7 years. That sounds like a long time when I say it like that. I'm psyched about that. But when I was a patient there, Dr. Bruce Singer, who I've referenced several times in this broadcast, we didn't get much homework on the weekend. So I think he said, if you're bored this weekend, check out this movie. We have it on DVD in the TV room. So I checked it out. It was one of the most amazing movies I've ever seen. It's called Happy. It's not available on Netflix any longer, but if you have Amazon Prime, it is available on there. And I'm going to play the trailer for you. It's a documentary. It talks about happiness from several different points of view from people around the world in very different situations. So let me show you that. If I can, I will. Eventually, I'll get to it. Can I show you this? Okay. I'll show you. I want to show you a Chrome tab. Sorry. Figuring this out. Share. Okay, I think we got it. Ready? So here's the happy trailer. Oh, shoot, you guys. I was told there was no sound. I'm sorry. All right, last time I did this, it was solved by me taking out my earbuds. Why that solves the no sound thing, I don't know. But I'm going to try again. I'm sorry. It's really great and it's worth it. Can somebody just tell me if you're hearing this time?
What do you want out of life?
I don't know. To be happy? To be happy.
I want the American dream. I want to be happy. The professor said to me, you could never measure happiness. Now, why they thought you could measure depression, which they were all doing, but you couldn't measure happiness, I'm not sure. This is a paradise to me. That's why I love it so much.
There is a great deal you can do on a regular basis to become happy.
Okay. So I don't know if that gave you the, oops. No, we don't want to hear anymore. Let's do this. Hopefully you're hearing me now. I'll put my earbuds in just in case. No, that wouldn't have anything to do with ice. You guys must hear me. We're ending anyway. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that trailer. The movie, I highly, highly recommend it. I've watched it several times because it's just that good. And if you're in a state of depression, the blues you down, I really think that it puts things in a perspective because it shows a lot of different perspectives. I mean, I think the first scenario they talk about is a young rickshaw driver, the guys that run behind the wheeled carts that wheel people from India in a very poor community. They talk about him and he talks about his happiness. So it really talks about happiness from a lot of different perspectives. Pamela's seen it too. Highly recommend. You guys can hear me. Thank you for letting me know you heard me. Thank you for your time this evening. Very glad it has helped you too. And Tracy continues to amaze me. All right. So much for ending it early. Maybe I should just make the show an hour and a half. What do you guys think? Thank you all for being here tonight. I couldn't do Gratefully Living the Chronic Life without you all. It truly is an effort that we do together. So thank you for being here. For those of you I may not have gotten to your comments, I do apologize. And it'll be available for viewing as soon as we end this. So thank you to my Grateful Gang. Good night, Grateful Gang. Peace and love, gang. Love you guys. Thank you for everything. Bye.